This is the future.
So there has been a change in rankings on the best Helminth or subsumable abilities this year. Take note that I based my rankings on my personal experience playing the game. I am very open for suggestions and feedbacks. So if you feel like there's something I missed, or you got a different tier list in mind, then feel free to comment down below. So this Helminth abilities will be ranked from bottom to top, starting with number 15, Warcry. You can get this ability by letting the Helminth devour Valkyria. What this ability does is give you insane attack speed, which is perfect for melee builds that you want to have the max damage but have to sacrifice some speed mods, and you don't want to use Arcane Strike. Also, it's good for min-maxing armor bonuses aside from attack speed. This subsume ability also gives armor, not to mention that it slows enemies also. The only thing that is not that good though is with the Helminth variant. The amount of buff has been diminished and nowhere near as powerful as the original ability from Valkyria. However, you won't notice anything drastic though if you pair it with high power strength builds. Next, we have Aqua Blades. The waifu Warframe may be dull at first and not interesting to play with, but her subsumed ability, Aqua Blades, is broken when subsumed to other Warframes. Just take for example Ashe. With a build with max duration for stealth and Aqua Blades, all you need to do is put the Surging Blades augment on it and build the stack, then throw some deadly Aqua Blades that deals slash damage. It's also good with Rhino since Raw double dips the slash damage of Aqua Blades. And hell, it's even good and fun with Limbo as you can actually damage enemies while he is on the rift. Overall, I included Aqua Blades in here since it's a fun Helminth to use, especially if you just want to see Limbo do some damage inside the rift. For my 13 best Helminth ability, I pick Air Burst. I know this is somehow controversial and you might give this slot to something else, but, after the Zephyr work, Air Burst has become one of the most reliable way to group enemies. It's energy efficient to use, it got wide area of grouping, and the best part is, casting Air Burst is a one-handed action, meaning it can be used while performing many actions without interrupting them, including reloading, charging, shooting, and moving, either sprinting or sliding. For the 12 best Helminth ability, I pick Eclipse, simply because of the power to increase weapon damage. The only thing that I don't like about this ability is its inconsistency, as you would need to be at light level to proc the damage buff on weapons. If you are in dark areas, then you gain the 95% damage reduction instead. Aside from that, it got lower values on its buff when it's a subsume ability. The next one is probably Raw. Now, when to choose Eclipse and when to choose Raw for your build, that's pretty simple. Eclipse buffs only works in weapons while Raw increases the damage on all sources. This means not only guns, but also Warframe abilities. Now, what about if you are only using guns and you want to boost its damage? For raw power and high damage output, then Eclipse would be slightly better, but, for builds that does damage over time such as Bleed, then Raw is your best option since it double dips the damage bonus of the Bleed procs and it becomes insane when you pair it with a faction mod. For my top 10, we have Xata's Whisper. I usually use this skill when there's a headshot requirement for a specific arcane, or ability. It's also best used with Excalibur's Exalted Blade as it gives out additional status procs to targets hit by the ability. It's also good with a galvanized setup, and increases the maximum damage output of Mesa and Titania. Works pretty well not just on damage boosting most pistols, but also maintaining that headshot so you can proc special features such as the infinite fire mode of Nell Prime. In addition to this, there's also Arcane Pistolier that works very well with this setup. Also, Double Bubble Mag is such a joy to see, knowing that you can proc lots of status and at a fast pace when you are shooting a gun with Xata's Whisper buff into her bubble. Overall, there are plenty of usage for Xata's Whisper that I really love, and the best part is, it resets Sentient and Shadow Stalker resistance, which is why I ranked this slightly higher compared to Eclipse and Raw. Moving on, we got number 9, which is Breach Surge. But squad leader, this should be at least top 5 of the best Helminth abilities. Why so low in this list? Well, if you haven't heard just yet, Breach Surge got nerfed to the point wherein that millions and billions of damage when paired with Eclipse and Exodia Contagion is gone now. The new calculation now is it adds 100 damage times multiplier times power strength up to 5 million cap. In the past, it applies the multiplier before the damage cap, hence the calculation becomes busted that you can gain billions of damage with it. Right now, Breach Surge is still good, in terms of boosting damage and crowd control, but its power got diminished by the recent nerf. Nonetheless, it's still a worth subsumable ability if you wish some decent crowd control and boost in damage. For my top 8 subsumability, I pick Necro's Terrify. This can now have 100% armor reduction in one cast. At 167% power strength, you can strip all armor of enemies, and aside from that, you can also use the Creeping Terrify augment when you subsume this ability to other Warframes, giving you bonus crowd control. The armor strip is very wide and doesn't need line of sight, and it's perfect to use with Volt Capacitance Nuke. For my number 7 best helminth, I choose Pillage. This is the same with Creeping Terrify, a wide area armor strip, but Pillage does more. It doesn't just strip armor, but it totally strip all defenses of the enemies in a decent range, and gives the caster shield. So, it's a mix of both defense strip and survivability, perfect for those players who value a mix of both. For number 6, I choose Tharrow's Strike. Now, you might ask me why I put Steinach's ability on top of Terrify and Pillage, when the fact is, Pillage has more to offer. Well, the answer for that is very simple. Tharrow's Strike needs only 200% power strength to armor and shield strip an enemy, while Pillage needs a big chunk of power strength to fully strip the defenses. On the other hand, Terrify does have lower power strength requirement, but Tharrow's Strike remove both armor and shield. It's also easier and much faster to cast. The only downside though is that Pillage has a wider range as it spreads around the caster, while Tharrow's Strike is more if a frontal attack. Nonetheless, I still like it compared to the previous defense stripping gimmicks. For my top 5, I got Gloom. This has been meta for a very long time, and still, this is one of the best subsumability when it comes to giving health steal and crowd control. This is the ability that can slow enemies by 95%, and this works well with tanky Warframes because you can regenerate energy while having the Hunter Adrenaline or Rage mod. I really don't have anything to say about this subsumability. As long as you can manage the energy efficiency, then you can have the full advantage of it, best with a Pillage Hildren, or even with a Bloodletting Garuda. For my number 4, I choose Silence. This ability has been downgraded, as its feature to disable Eximus units attacks were nerfed just a while ago. However, this doesn't mean that the main purpose of this subsumability is now gone. It's still the best when it comes to leveling your Warframes in 5 minutes or less with the help of a carpet bombing Kuvabranma. This still works, and you can check out how to do that by looking at the video I have included in the video description below. For my top 3, I pick Ensnare, simply because I like grouping and nuking setup in the game. This is by far the best grouping ability, and it also affects Acolytes in Steel Path, so it's clearly a top choice for me. But then again, this is just my pick and we may have a different take on this. For my second best subsumability, it should be Nourish. Well, what else should be at the top 2? After the Grendel rework, Nourish has become insane that it can buff Steinach's to the point that you can press 4 to win, killing enemies and giving energy to the whole team. Aside from that, the viral procs of Nourish has become a trend, and it's way clearer now that viral mods in your weapon are close to being obsolete, since there are more ways to proc viral easily right now. This is a total banger subsumability, as it gives you 10 times viral procs fast, and it gives you energy regen fast in any sources. What more can you ask for? And lastly, my ranked 1 subsumability is Thermal Sunder. I love this ability right now because it allows me to nuke enemies with my Garuda and Harrow in the Duviri circuit. It allows me to farm with my Necros given that I have the Amalgam Ripkas mod which procs score. By the way, the gore term means dismemberment, and each time you cast Thermal Sunder, enemies that dies will torn to pieces, allowing the Desecrate ability to proc. In addition, this is also a great leveling tool for those who don't own the Kuvabranma yet. Simply subsume this into your Warframe, then head to Sanctuary Onslaught and clap the enemies. Overall, the nuking feature of this ability don't just have power, but insane usability in almost all important scenario in Warframe, which is why I ranked this as my number 1 subsumed ability this year. This rankings may change next year, but I'm sure to keep you updated. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.